There's something really special about sea turtles. I mean, just look at them. They're like dinosaurs with their weird, old-looking shells and their super slow and clunky way of moving around on land. But they've been around for an incredibly long time, and some species have managed to survive despite all the changes in our world. How long have sea turtles been traveling our oceans? Well, it's a bit of a complicated question because it turns out that the answer depends on what you mean by sea turtle. Hi, it's me, and this is my channel. The answer is somewhere between 20 million and 100 million years ago or more. See, the fossil record of sea turtles is pretty complicated because there are different types of fossils. We find body fossils like this partial skeleton of an ancient turtle found in the Netherlands. It was dated to around 80 million years ago. Body fossils are great because they can tell us things about the size and shape of an animal, its general anatomy, and even some aspects of its behavior. But sometimes we also find trace fossils. Trace fossils aren't the actual remains of an animal, but evidence of its presence like footprints or burrows or, you guessed it, poop. And these can preserve in places that body fossils can't, giving us a more complete picture of an animal's life. So while body fossils suggest that modern sea turtles first evolved somewhere between 80 and 100 million years ago, trace fossils push that back a lot further. Take this fossilized trackway, for example. It was made by a giant prehistoric sea turtle that lived around 20 million years ago. This would suggest that turtles had already been in the ocean for tens of millions of years before this one was around. But wait, there's more. Just because this trackway was made by a giant prehistoric sea turtle doesn't mean that giant prehistoric sea turtle was the first of its kind. After all, a fossil is only ever going to tell us about the individual that was around at the time and place that it was fossilized. Finding one turtle trackway from 20 million years ago does not mean that no sea turtles existed before then. It's more likely that the fossil just hasn't been discovered yet. Sure enough, in 2021, researchers reported finding a new trace fossil from the Bahamas that pushed back the timeline of sea turtles even further. It comes from a single trackway preserved in limestone, which might sound surprising, since most tracks are found in rocks that were originally mud that hardened into stone over time. But this trackway was actually made during a time when sea level was much higher than it is now. So the turtles were walking on the bottom of the ocean. That makes sense. Why would a turtle walk on land unless it had to? Based on its size and shape, researchers believe that the turtle that made this trackway was around 3 meters long, almost twice the length of a human foot.
Oh.
And by comparing the shape of the footprints to other modern sea turtles, they estimate that it belonged to a giant leatherback sea turtle, or something very similar to it. But here's where things get a little strange. While studying the trackway, the researchers noticed that there were burrows filled with what appeared to be eggs right next to the turtle's footprints. And based on the size of the turtle that made the trackway, they estimate that each egg was around 6 centimeters long. Now, based on this discovery, the researchers hypothesized that these turtles probably laid their eggs on the ocean floor, which goes against the current understanding of how turtles work. You see, we know that all living turtles have to go back to the land where they hatched in order to lay their eggs. And if you think about it, this makes sense. Their bodies are adapted for life in the water, but they need to come up to land to lay their eggs. However, if this new hypothesis is true, it could suggest that these giant prehistoric turtles somehow made the journey from the ocean floor to land to lay their eggs. Or it could suggest that sea turtles didn't necessarily need to come back to land to reproduce at all. Instead, these might have been the first reptiles that gave birth to live babies, kind of like snakes do today. Of course, there's still a lot that we don't know. The team wasn't able to find any bones or other body fossils of this ancient turtle, so they couldn't definitively say what species it was or how it reproduced. But this discovery does show us that our planet's oceans have been full of amazing animals for a very long time, and that even the most ordinary-looking creatures can be full of surprises. Thanks so much for watching and learning with us.